Hello Proponomics people, and welcome to the slightly longer form explainer version of the Sunday supplement from the 24th of December 2023. So what I'm going to be doing in this series is I'm going to be spending around about 5 minutes just summarising what was said in the Sunday supplement from the last week. So I'm also using Google's Bard here, the AI tool, in order to be able to summarise what is several thousand words every week into a much shorter version. So this week's article was called The Grinch is With Us, and Bard describes it as a commentary on the current economic and political climate in the UK, and it describes Proponomics as a property investment and finance website, which would be lovely if it was true, but we're hoping to get there one day. So I start by discussing the recent fall in bond yields and attributing this to a number of factors, including the expectation of a recession, including the easing of inflationary pressures and the Bank of England's recent decision to hold interest rates steady. I also argue that a fall in the bond yields is a sign that investors are becoming more pessimistic about the economy, which of course they are as economic data continues to unfold that looks relatively negative from the overall economic perspective. But of course that's driving the interest rate downwards, which is what we all want as property investors. So then I go on to discuss the potential impact of a recession on the UK economy, arguing that a recession would lead to a decline in economic activity, which of course is true by definition, but also characterised by rising unemployment and potentially falling house prices. I also argue that a recession would exacerbate the cost of living crisis, which of course it would, because more people would be unemployed and benefits don't pay as much as paid work does. So, despite the potential for a recession, I also argue that inflation is likely to continue to rise. I'm not sure I say likely, but I do think it's possible for sure, particularly the ongoing war in Ukraine, supply chain disruptions, but particularly wage growth that is very persistent, and I'm arguing that it's likely to remain above the Bank of England's target for the foreseeable future, although lots of people are thinking it's currently going to crash under that 2% any day now. So I conclude that the UK economy is likely to experience volatility in the near future, driven by the conflicting forces of a potential recession and rising inflation. I apparently urge investors to be cautious and to diversify their portfolios, which of course I would do on a weekly basis because I think that's a very good idea. So, in addition to all of that, I talk about the impact of the recent fall in bond yields on mortgage rates. Of course, this is the big one. The lower the bond yields, the higher the bond prices, but the lower the mortgage rates can be. And I talk about rates coming back below 4% for owner-occupiers, and that translating into something a little over 5% for 5-year fixes in limited companies, which is great news for people with very much normal looking arrangement fees, not some of these 5 to 10% product fees that we've almost got used to over the last 6 to 9 months or so. I also talk about the potential for the UK government to cut taxes in order to stimulate the economy, which of course is very likely next year, because apart from anything else, it's the oldest trick in the book in a way to try and win votes in an election year, which 2024 will be in the UK. I also talk about the impact of the cost of living crisis on consumer spending. So of course that's affected how much money people have got to spend in terms of retail, and that's had an impact on the figures over the course of the past 12 months. And I also talk about the potential for the UK to experience a wage price spiral. Now, a wage price spiral, which there is a separate video on in the Advent Calendar series if you want to go and check it out. But a wage price spiral is essentially when wages are chasing prices, and then prices have to chase wages as suppliers put their prices up in order to recoup the extra wages that they're paying. And then the workers ask for more money so that they can afford to pay the new higher prices for goods. It's an economically theoretical concept with a limited amount of application in the real world, although the 1970s is often cited as a fairly good example of a wage price spiral. And certainly at points in the early 70s, there was definitely one of those going on. So, according to Bard, the author concludes by arguing that the UK economy is likely to face a number of challenges in the near future. However, the author also argues there are reasons to be optimistic, of course I do, about the economy's longer term prospects. And, despite the best efforts of the government often to not do a very good job and even crash the economy like Liz Truss effectively attempted to do without knowing what she was doing, there's still good reason to be bullish going forward because there's still room for growth, room for productivity increases, and room for higher GDP. So I do, of course, urge investors to take a long-term view and focus on investing in quality assets. I also conclude with a call to action for investors. Be cautious in the near term, but also make sure you can take advantage of opportunities that arise. Well, that makes good sense. And overall, the article is rated as providing a comprehensive overview of the current economic and political climate in the UK, a must-read for investors who are looking to make informed decisions about their portfolios. So I'm delighted that Bard has given me a little bit of promo at the end there. It's doing the legwork for me because I'm so rubbish at sales and marketing. I hope you enjoyed this truncated version of the supplement from Christmas Eve 2023. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Thank you.